masterclass is sort of inspired by an entire season that I'm doing this fall and into winter, basically closing out the new year. We are talking a lot about money. So whether that is boundaries around your money, how much money can virtual assistants make, which was a masterclass I did earlier, and then our upcoming program, Raise Your Rates. This is a season of talking about money, and I'm so excited about it. Boundaries and money are two of my favorite conversations, and putting them together is really potent. Where this topic was inspired from is I have a lot of conversations in my high-level masterminds and in my programs and in my courses. And there are virtual assistants out there who, when it comes to invoicing or when it comes to creating your packages or setting your rates or setting your prices, there is a lack of confidence and a lack of boundaries. Boundaries give structure. Okay, boundaries, the word boundaries, I feel can sometimes get a bad rap. It can be like, bitches have boundaries, and like boundaries are people who like don't have compassion. It's not true, okay? Boundaries create a structure, a set of rules, a set of expectations that make it easier to follow, okay? They are supportive when boundaries are used properly, and when it comes to conversations around money or invoicing or any of that kind of stuff, boundaries are actually really supportive, okay? What isn't supportive is a lack of integrity, a lack of clarity. What isn't supportive is if 1 month you're okay with a late invoice and then the next month you're not okay with a late invoice, or 1 month you roll over your hours and then the next month you don't roll over your hours. So a lack of clarity, a lack of boundaries, that is what is not supportive. Okay, so that's the flip side. That's why boundaries are really supportive. What I want to do in this masterclass is I kind of broken it up into 3 sections, okay? Section number 1, which I'm going to dive into, is just the reality. That's what I've called it. The reality, the suck it up, this is real, the reality, okay? Section 2 is I'm going to talk about the rules. These are the boundaries that I want you to put in place inside your virtual assistant business so that you can minimize the chances of you running into sticky and uncomfortable and resentful and frustrating situations when it comes to invoices and your clients and raising your rates and all of these topics around money, okay? And then the last part of this masterclass is implementing it, how to implement these rules, and if it really makes you scared or if it makes you really uncomfortable, some sort of hacks or some extra supportive processes that you can put into your business, okay? So those are the 3 sections. So I want to start off with the realities. Reality number 1 is that paying an invoice is a much bigger task than just putting in your credit card information and pressing pay. Okay? It might seem like a really simple task, like, oh, why hasn't my client just paid my invoice? It's so frustrating. Or why do they keep putting it off? I see them accomplishing all of these other things. Why can't they just pay the invoice? Because when a client is paying a team, it's more than just putting credit card information in, okay? It's about money mindset. And every client is a human being, and they are going to have money mindset issues. Most of them. Most human beings, most clients have some kind of they have money mindset issues, and they can get projected onto the task of paying your invoice, which isn't fair to you, and which is very frustrating. But I just want to put this reality into perspective, okay? When a client is paying an invoice to their virtual assistant, some of the money mindset issues and problems and trauma that come up for them is their business making enough money to justify investing in a VA? Are they going to are they going to achieve those projected sales that they are expecting to make in order to be able to pay their team? Do they already have debt on their credit card and paying your invoice is adding to it? These are not your issues as a virtual assistant. These are not your issues. Money mindset issues with your client are theirs. That's the reality. However, I just want to give you some perspective that if a client is not paying an invoice, it could be for a multitude of reasons, but the task of paying an invoice isn't simply just putting in credit card information. Every invoice reopens the conversation of, can their business afford this? That is a loaded question. That is what paying an invoice feels like. Okay? So, that is some money mindset issues that can come up with clients. And of course, we want most of them to feel good about paying their team. We want most of them to fulfill their invoices without fuss. We don't want to cause them stress. But that's the reality when it comes to money in running a business and paying a team. Okay? The other reality that I want to hit you with is that when it comes to your boundaries around invoice payment, money, rates, all this kind of stuff that I'm going to talk about today, you are the keeper of your boundaries. You set the example of how you want your boundaries to be respected. You are the keeper of your boundaries, not your client, not anyone else. The moment you get relaxed around boundaries in your invoices, boundaries around your rates, boundaries around overtime, boundaries around fees, the moment you relax on those, you are giving your client permission to relax on them as well. It is not your client's responsibility to maintain your boundaries. You want them to, that would be great, and so many of them do, and it's really easy, but that needs to be one of the big boss pants that you need to put on. You are the keeper of your boundaries, okay? So if you become relaxed with your invoices, like, oh, pay it when you can, or I'll just roll my hours, unused hours over into the next month, or I'll negotiate on my rate. When you get relaxed on your boundaries, the question is, are you okay with that? Clients are human beings, and that means that it is impossible for me to explain examples that capture every single type of client and every single type of relationship. You might have clients that you absolutely love. You might have clients that you have a really trusting and respectful relationship with. You might have clients that you can see so deeply inside their business that maybe they need more time to pay their invoice. So the question is, are you okay with that? Are you relaxing your boundaries because you desire to, or because you're being pushed to, or because you think you should? Those are two very, very different feelings around your boundaries. And a good way to kind of tap into that is to ask yourself, am I feeling disrespected right now? What is the emotion that's coming up for me when it comes to my client and my invoices or my rates? Anything to do with the money in your business, right? The next reality that I really want to tap into is that money makes the world go round, okay? We deal with money all the time. All the time. It is one of the biggest constants on this entire planet. What we need to do in business is we need to remove the emotional charge around money and our invoices. What I mean by that? Stop making money weird. Okay? Stop charging conversations around raising your rates or invoicing as way bigger than they actually are. Okay? Make it a business. Invoicing, rates, money, everything, it is business. That's the reality. We don't need to be sheepish about it. We don't need to bring on our own money trauma and project it onto those pieces of paper. Money is simply pieces of paper, and what we make of it is the emotional charge we project on it. Okay, here's an example. When I lived in an apartment that had a communal washer and dryer, let me know in the comments if you've ever lived in an apartment with communal washer and dryer. Very frustrating. But anyway, the washing machine only took $1 coins. Loonies, as we call them in Canada. The washing machine only took $1 coins. Imagine how valuable $1 coins suddenly became in my world. They were not worth $1 anymore. They were worth a load of laundry, and 4 quarters wouldn't cut it. No other denomination would cut it. Suddenly the $1 coin could have been worth $100, and I would have still wanted them so badly. At Christmas, when people ask me what I want for Christmas, I would say, instead of buying me a $10 gift, please just give me 10 $1 coins, and that will equal loads of laundry, right? So money is simply what we project onto it. So when it comes to dealing with money in our business, we need to boss up. Okay? We need to stop making it weird. We need to stop being nervous about bringing it up. Treat your invoices and the money in your business like it's a third person. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about your business, your client. It's about your business. It's business. That's it. Period. Reality. Okay? If you stop working because an invoice remains unpaid, it does not mean you hate your client. It doesn't have to be weird. If your client doesn't get around to paying your invoice on time, it's not because they're disgusted with your performance. When you have discussions with your clients around invoicing, around reminding them to pay your invoice, around raising your rates, you need to remove the emotional charge. It's about business. It's a reality. And you talk about it like it's just this third thing between you, and it holds no weirdness or sense of self. It's just about the invoice. It's just about business. Okay? So those were the key realities that I really wanted to sink in. Those are just the truths. We need to stop making money weird. We have to stop making it mean something about us or our clients, because if we charge it with those emotions and that potential trauma, then it makes it a lot more difficult to have those discussions and simply make it a part of business. We deal with money all the time. All the time. Multiple times a day. Okay? That's how it needs to feel in our business. Exchanging money for a Starbucks. It needs to be that straightforward, no arguments. That's the reality. Okay, the Starbucks barista doesn't get sheepish when they're like, oh, it's going to be $5. Do you mind paying? Would that be okay? No, I really want to give you this one for free, but oh. Right? It just is. It just is. And the other reality that I really want to revisit is that you are the keeper of your boundaries. Okay? So now I'm going to jump into rules, and this is why this is going to make a lot of sense. These are the rules, i.e. the boundaries, i.e. the supportive structure that I want you to be implementing in your online business, whether you are a virtual assistant, an OBM, a social media manager, Pinterest manager, whatever it is. These are the rules I want you to implement in your business. Rule number 1, do not work for free in exchange for anything. Okay? I still hear chatter out there that encourages online business people to be working for free in exchange for a testimonial or working for free in order to learn something. Do not fall into this trap, okay? I actually felt really strongly about this when I was going through university and people were suggesting that I look up internships. And I was like, what? Why would I work for free in exchange for something that I would get if I worked and got paid to do it, right? You can work, get paid, and get the testimonial, okay? That is a boundary that I want you to put in place for your business. Now, sort of the sister of that, I'm going to share with you how I feel about trades. Okay. Trades. I don't encourage trades either, and this is why. I have seen trades backfire many, many times. If you are trading services with someone and that person is also getting paid by other people to do the same service, they will prioritize the clients that are paying them to do it. It's 99.9% of the time. It's just how our minds work. We're getting paid to do something, so we feel an extra level of responsibility, and so we're going to work on it and we're going to get it done. If we trade it for another service, we're going to make that second priority, especially if we are not getting the most out of the service we are trading. Okay? If someone offered you like, okay, can you build my website and I will give you a massage a week as a trade? If you are building the website and you're not getting, if you can't fit a massage a week into your schedule, you are going to reflect back into their trade what you're pulling out of their side of it, right? I really want you to avoid doing trades. Also, there is something very powerful about exchanging money. This is important. I have had people offer, propose a trade to me, and I will say, I want your service, and I want to give you my service, but I will pay you for yours, and even if that money then just turns right back around and comes back to me, that's how I'd rather do it. I want to have conversations around money. I want to pay money. I want to earn money. I want to have a really strong relationship with money. And trading services kills that growth. Okay? Now, some of you may be watching this and you are in the middle of a trade or you've been proposed to do it. A trade's been proposed to you. I see trades happen all the time. I see them backfire. I also see them do okay. I just want you to be skeptical about them. I don't want a trade to sound like a great idea. I want you to go into trades having really thought it through. Okay? I don't think people should do trades, but if you must, please assure me that you've really thought about it. Okay? Next rule, do not work for less than $20 an hour. Period. Done. Exclamation point. I don't think there's more to say because I'm not even going to be engaging in that conversation. Yes, you are going to see people ask for virtual assistant services for $5, $10, $11, and you will see VAs offering that. I know VAs, I personally know VAs who work for less than $20 an hour. Don't. I even tell my VAs don't go less than 25. Okay? End of that rule. Do not work for less than $25 an hour. Period. Exclamation point. End of conversation. Okay. The next rule I want you to have in your virtual assistant business, your online business, is I really don't want you to work for less than 5 hours. And I even think 5 hours is pushing it. Okay? I did a boot camp that we called it Cash, and it was designing your packages and determining your rates as a virtual assistant. And one of the we have hourly bundles. And the hourly bundle packages that we have are a 20-hour bundle and a 10-hour bundle. And I do not go lower than that. There is a reason I do not go lower than 10 hours. 5 hours, I've never seen 5 hours work out well in the end. And I'm going to say that again. I've never seen it. And I'm very careful not to make bold, sweeping statements like that. I've never seen 5 hours amount to anything good. Here's why. It's too little of a commitment from your client. It's too little of a commitment. It's too little of a financial commitment. It's too little of a time commitment in 5 hours. I mean, it takes more than 5 hours even to figure out what the hell you're doing. There's no room for a meeting in 5 hours. There's no room for a relationship to potentially grow. 5 hours is too low, okay? It's just too few. 5 hours is like, why don't you just do it, right? So I really encourage you to not work for less than 5 hours. Whether that's a month or once, it's too low. I also want you to add an expiry date to your packages. Now, the Cash Bootcamp, creating your packages and setting your prices, that's already happened. But if you want the recordings, just send me a DM and I will set you up with them, okay? That's Cash. It was my last bootcamp on prices and packaging. What we talked about is putting an expiry date on your packages. This is a really firm boundary. We don't want clients that purchase 20 hours from us and it takes them a year to get through it. That's annoying. That's not sustainable. That's not supportive. That doesn't help you budget both your roster and your bank account. So I want you to have expiries on your bundles and your packages. So if that's like a 20-hour package, you got to use the 20 hours within 45 days. And if you don't, too bad. No refunds. Okay? Again, if you want access to the Cash Bootcamp, where I teach you exactly how to create VA packages and the ones that you should create, send me a DM. Okay? The next rule I want you to have in is that invoices must be fulfilled before you start work. Believe it or not, this happens so many times, and this is why, okay? I'm going to literally walk you through the process. A virtual assistant connects with a potential client. They have a discovery call. They really hit it off. At the end of the discovery call, the client is like, great, I would love for you to start working on this project. Then you send them a follow-up email with your invoice and your agreement. They respond with their login, and suddenly you are working and they have not yet paid their invoice. Don't. The rule has to be pay for the package, then I will work. An exception to this would be an hourly rate on a project. And again, I talk about this in the Cash Bootcamp. But you must set a boundary with yourself to not start working on a client's business until the invoice is paid. And when the package ends, you stop working until the next invoice is paid. Even if you're in the midst of chaos, you need to draw that boundary. Okay? Another rule is that payment is non-refundable. This is a rule you need to have in your business. Payment is non-refundable. They bought it, done. No returns. Okay, that one's pretty straightforward. You also want to send your invoices, your second and ongoing invoices, with a time report, right? You need to really support your client as well. They need to be able to see what the 10 hours got them, or the 20 hours got them, what you've been working on, where you designated the time, right? It's really supportive, and it makes them feel more supported in paying your invoice when you accompany the invoice with the time tracking, the time sheet, the time report of the previous package, okay? Hey, this is what I worked on for the last 10-hour package. This is how it's broken up in the report. Here's your invoice for the next 10-hour package. Makes it very professional, makes it a business. Makes it transparent, makes invoicing easy. It takes out the weirdness. There's no secrecy, right? And my last rule is all of these rules apply to friends and family. Okay? There's a whole other masterclass that I need to make about working with friends and family, but my number one tip is that you need to your boundaries need to be even stronger with friends and family in order to protect the original relationship. You don't want to feel resentment because your cousin hasn't paid their invoice. And then you have to go to the family reunion and deal with it and pretend you don't feel resentment. These type of boundaries, these type of rules are especially important when working with friends and family, and I know so many of you are. Okay? No exceptions. So, I've now listed all of these rules. They're pretty straightforward, non-refundable, don't work until invoice is paid. What else I have here? Don't work for less than $20 an hour. Don't work for less than 5 hours. Have an expiry date on your prices and packages. But now I want to talk to you about how do you implement these rules. Okay? These are all rules. These are all boundaries. Okay? Got it. They support your business. But how do you implement them? So let's talk about that. When it comes to getting your invoice paid, I want you to start from the very beginning. You set the tone for your business. That's what these boundaries do. They set a tone. They set expectations for your business and how you want your business to be respected. If you end up frolicking in the daisies with your client later down the road and becoming a lot more relaxed about it, cool. But you want to start each relationship off with strong boundaries, because it's easier to become relaxed about boundaries than to have to become stronger about them. And when you become stronger, when you have to set in stronger boundaries, it's annoying because you know you should have just done it in the first place. Okay? So, the first implementation at the beginning of your relationship with your client is if you have a discovery call with a potential client and you agree to work together, do not book the kickoff call. Do not book your first meeting until the invoice is paid. Okay? Do not book your first official meeting of working together at the end of the discovery call. That meeting does not get booked until the invoice is paid. And what I'm going to talk about later on in this masterclass is literally programs and softwares you can use that do that for you, workflows. But this is what the workflow should be. They schedule a discovery call. You agree to work with each other. You then email them contract and first invoice. And you wait until they agree to the contract. And you wait until they pay the invoice. And then you book a kickoff call and you start your relationship. Okay? The next implementation, next thing to do, okay? Add payment expectations into your agreement, into your contract. Okay? And this is something that I'm going to be teaching in a January program, is what to include in your agreement and your contract. In your agreement, in your contract, I want you to put in your expectations around paying your invoices, and then you attach it to the email that you send your new client, and you also put it in the body of the email. I have these discussions with virtual assistants all the time around clients that they said they agree to the contract and then they break rules of the contract, and the VA gets really frustrated because it's like they agreed to the contract. They said they read it and they agreed to it. We need to make it so crystal clear. We need to put it in multiple places in writing. When you send an email with your contract attached to it, in the body of the email, put your top bullet points. In this agreement, I will cover this expectation around paying my invoices. Please sign saying that you've read it and you agree. And then they will open the agreement/contract and they will read it again because it's also in there. You want to know at the end of the day, you did everything you could to instill boundaries, to protect the respect of your business. Another implementation you can do is in your agreement, you can add a late charge for unpaid invoices. I've seen this happen. Okay? And what's considered late? I mean, this is going to be different for everyone, but a week, 5 to 7 days, late. And then there's going to be a fee. The fee is not because we are bad or evil. Ideally, we never have to charge this fee, right? That's why we put the penalty in there, because we want to encourage them to follow the rules. The penalty is for disrespecting the expectations, for breaking the boundaries, and you really don't want to have to do it. We don't put fees into our contract because we want to take their money. We put fees in because we don't want to have to deal with this. I hope to never charge a late fee, right? Okay? Also, when it comes to paying your invoice, if your client is going to be away or traveling or whatever on the day that the invoice is due, they should tell you about that, and you should send your next invoice before they leave. Have them pay it in advance. We can send invoice to clients and then they can be like, oh, I'm in Hawaii, I'll get around to paying it. No. You have rent to pay. You have vegetables to buy. You have ski passes to purchase, right? You have a life. That money belongs to you. And so just because they're in Hawaii or they're on a cruise ship somewhere or it's somebody's birthday, They need to pay it in advance, not after. You don't sit there and wait to get the money that you so rightfully earned and that you are living off of. That's the energy and the boundary you need to have around your invoices. The money is yours and you have to have it in order to continue living your life. Okay? Also, this is something I want you to implement to protect your boundaries, okay? I want you to implement a heads up that 25% of your package remains. Okay, so if your client bought a 20-hour package, then you let them know when 5 hours remain. Did I do that math correctly? Yes. You let them know that they have 5 hours, and at the end of the 5 hours, your services will stop. How would they like to proceed? They might say, yeah, great, send me an invoice for the next 20-hour package. You can be like, okay, send invoice. Rolling over from package to package should be because they are paying their invoices on time. It should be smooth because they're paying their invoices on time. I want you to implement a warning, a heads up that 25% of your package remains. Hey, we have 5 hours left. Hey, we have 3 hours left. At the end of the package, my services will stop. How would you like to proceed? Would you like to start a 20-hour package to avoid any kind of interruption? And you're going to get different answers, right? You might have a client say, maybe your 20-hour package ends on the 28th of the month. And they might say, you know what, take the next 2 days off and let's start again on the 1st of the next month. Or they might be like, yeah, quick, no interruption. Let's go, get another package going. But I want you to implement the boundary that you're going to give them a 25% remaining warning. And then when the package ends, before they pay the next invoice, you need to stop working. Because this is what happens. If you get to the end of the 20-hour package, the 10-hour package or whatever, and they haven't renewed and you continue working, let's say you continue working another like 4 hours or 5 hours, kind of like waiting for them to pay the next invoice, and then they pay it, and then you know what you do is you come to me and you're saying, Rebecca, I worked an extra 5 hours. Do I include that in the next package? That's a tricky question because you are charging the client for work that you allowed yourself to do off the clock, off the payroll. What is fairest for everyone is that when an invoice is paid for a certain service, that is all that is completed. If someone purchased 20 hours from you, do 20 hours. That removes any weirdness for you, and it removes any weirdness for your client. The last thing you want to do is hold resentment towards your client because you let yourself work an extra 5 hours because they didn't pay the invoice and then they renewed the package, and now you're like, does that count for the next one, or did I just burn 5 hours because really what I should have done is I should have stopped working? When boundaries get murky, relationships get murky. That's where confusion comes in. To avoid murkiness, you need to fulfill the package that was purchased and then stop. It might feel like really hard and terrible to just like stop working, like drop the pencil, close the laptop and be like 20 hours done. But trust me, you will only have to do this a few times until your client learns this boundary and is like, Okay, crap. I need to be paying an invoice when there's like 3 hours remaining so that there's no gap in between. It's a practice that you're going to be instilling with them by holding true to your boundary. Okay, next rule, last rule. Send reminder emails. If your invoice goes unpaid, or you haven't had a response about a meeting to raise your rates, anything about money, send a reminder email. And if you don't get it, send them a reminder email, and then if you don't get a response from that, you start contacting them on different platforms. You DM them, you Vox them, you whatever. You track them down. And you need to keep the reminder, the follow-up, all the emails, just keep them professional. It doesn't need to be charged. It doesn't have to be like, fuck you, why aren't you paying my invoice? Ah! Factual, professional. That's all that they have to say. Hey, this is a reminder to pay the invoice. Once the invoice is paid, I will start on Project X. Hey, so-and-so, I sent you an email about reminding you to pay your invoice. Saw that you didn't respond, so here I am in your DMs. Keep it professional. Remove any emotional charge. Don't say things like, I'm sorry, or I've never had this happen to me before. What's wrong with you? Remove the emotion. Make it professional, make it about facts, and I want you to be reminding your clients, following up with your invoice payments as consistently as you would like them to fulfill the invoice. Okay? If you want them to fulfill the invoice quickly and consistently, then you need to be reminding them using that same energy. If you're like slow on the follow-up, or you like give them a lot of time and like you don't ride their ass, they might take advantage of that. Maybe they saw your invoice in their email and were like, oh yeah, I'll get around to that. And then they forgot about it and it's just getting buried in their email inbox and they've got 100 things going on. You remind them as consistently with the same kind of integrity that you want to train them to pay your invoice. Right? And you keep it professional. You're a boss. You're a business owner. It's not weird. You're not judging their character. Doesn't mean you hate them. It's an invoice. It needs to get paid. Fact. Professional. I'm going to follow you up. It's still unpaid. Pay it. Right? So, those were all the implementations, right? So, I don't want you to be booking at your first kickoff call before the invoice is paid. Okay? I want you to have expectations around paying your invoices in your agreement, in your initial emails. If your client is going to be away on the day that an invoice is due, then they should pay it in advance. It's not your fault they're on vacation. I want you to give your clients a heads up when 25% of the package remains so that they can get up on paying the next invoice so that there's a smooth transition from one package into the next. And send reminder emails consistently. Track them down. Set a standard with how they can treat your invoices. So this is something you can do manually, okay? You can do all of this manually. You can add it into your contract. You can then email the contract and wait until the invoice is paid and then you can do this all manually. Or if talking about invoices or chasing down clients makes you want to squirm, then I want to talk about a few systems and processes and workflows that can support you, okay? Your calendar is going to be very supportive in this process. I want you to be putting in your calendar the day packages start, the day that there's going to be 25% of the package remaining, the day invoices are due, the day you should send a follow-up if the invoice is not paid. Put it in your calendar so that you don't have one of those weeks where time flies and you're like, oh my gosh, I never followed up on the unpaid invoice and now it's been 5 days. I just got too busy. I just forgot. Suddenly it's Friday. Use your calendar. The other really supportive thing is going to be like pre-canned emails. Open up a Google Doc and write out a bunch of emails that are canned. They're like template emails. They're professional, they're factual, there's no emotional charge to them, and you can literally like copy and paste them. Hey, so-and-so, this is a reminder that the October invoice is due. And that by Thursday, I will be adding a late fee. Just create canned emails that are professional, no emotional charge, have them in a Google Doc. And so when it comes to emailing your clients about the invoice, reminding them or following up, you're literally copy pasting. That takes out the emotional charge. That helps deal with the resentment. That makes it feel just a bit more professional, and that makes it a task that is less daunting for you. Okay? You can also use a invoicing, or as they're called, client management softwares, but like an invoicing program that will do all of this for you. It will like create a workflow that respects your boundaries. So something like Honeybook or Dubsado, you may have heard of some of these platforms. You do have to pay to use them, but then you just expense those fees as business expenses during tax time. But these are programs that can automate all of this for you, right? Honeybook can send the invoice. And then when the invoice isn't paid, Honeybook automatically sends a reminder email. Or maybe you use Dubsado and Dubsado sends the first invoice, and once it gets paid, it then sends a booking link for your kickoff call. It's all automated. So if this kind of energy around boundaries and money and invoicing makes you squirm, then using an automated system might be really, really nice for you. Make Dubsado do it. Make Honeybook do it. So you don't have to. Right? Another great tip is setting up an invoicing platform that can auto charge your client's credit card. Okay? Some clients aren't going to be okay with this, but as long as a receipt is sent to your client, then this is a task that you can handle. You can pay your own invoices. You can also, if you have a recurring package with a client, like maybe you work 40 hours a month with them, put them on a subscription. So the first of the month, they're charged automatically on their credit card for the next 40 hours. Easy peasy. No one has to get weird about it. You don't have to send an invoice every single month. They don't have to go find their wallet and then find their credit card and deal with their money trauma. And maybe it's a situation where you can auto charge the credit card. Put them on like a monthly subscription for your services. This is one of my favorites, to be honest. It keeps the integrity and removes all the weirdness. You must be on top of your invoices. I cannot emphasize this enough. As a business owner, you must be on top of your invoices. Not your client, not your brother, not your partner, not your mom or your dad. You need to be on top of your invoices. If you slack on the the integrity of your invoices, you are showing a lack of respect around your invoices. You're demonstrating that to your clients. If you are raising your rates and you negotiate too much, or you're willing to go lower than you really want to, you are demonstrating this. As a business owner, you have to be on top of your invoices. You have to be on top of the window when you raise your rates. And this is what I'm going to talk about in my upcoming program. You do. You are in business now, and collecting money needs to be your number one priority. We are not working for free. If you want to work for free, that's fine. work for free, but you're not. So don't. Right? Can you imagine if during your 9 to 5, your like paycheck came late? You'd be trotting down to the accountant's office that Friday and you'd be like, where is my money? Where is my 2-week paycheck? You have to have those same expectations with your business. Add reminders in your calendar when there's 25% of the package remaining. Prep templates. Prep canned emails. Just make it a non-issue. Here's the invoice. It has to get paid. If you don't pay it on time, then I'm going to track your ass down. I'm going to hustle you. I'm going to get annoying. I'm going to put a fire under your butt until it gets paid. I'm not going to work. These are the rules. These are the boundaries. They're not charged. There's no emotional charge to them. They're just facts. They're just what it is. Right? And then the other piece of support that I want to give you, because this has come up before, is that if you interact with a client that proposes a different payment schedule than the one that's in your agreement, I mean, I'm making these boundaries sound easy, right? But like I prefaced at the beginning, every client is a human being, every VA is a human being, and therefore when two human beings come together, they create a unique situation every time. So yes, it's easy for me to say like, these are the rules, they must be followed. This isn't a perfect world, right? But what I have seen is I have seen some clients propose alternate payment plans to a virtual assistant. Maybe because they're nervous about sending money before receiving the service, or perhaps their business finances are on a different schedule and they like can't pay you on the date that you require payment. There is an option that I have seen happen in the past that has worked pretty well. If a client proposes a different payment schedule, you have two options, and maybe more, but I'm going to suggest two options. One is you can be like, nope, I am so steadfast about my boundaries, when I should be paid, etc., etc. No, thank you. We are not good to be working with each other, and then you go find someone else. Or option two is that you suggest that you invoice them every week for a month until they are comfortable with your version of doing it, and then you return to that model. Okay? You could invoice your client every single week for a month. Be like, Kate, I did 3 hours, pay me for it. Oh, I did another 3 hours, pay me for it. I did 3 hours, pay me for it. I didn't. And they're going to be like, okay. I'm fine with your model. I'll just purchase the whole package up front. You'd be like, great. Glad we got this sorted. It's not an option that I want you to offer, but you might be in a situation where a client resists your particular payment fulfillment schedule, your invoice schedule, and that could be an option. You could be like, well, if you don't trust me, I don't trust you, so I'm going to invoice you every single week until we trust each other. Capiche? Right? So that's some support, okay? So really lean into your calendar, canned emails that you've already created, so you can just copy and paste them. There's no emotional charge. It's just part of business, right? You could use an automated workflow system like Honeybook or Dubsado so that you don't even have to do it. You don't even have to do it, ladies, if it makes you squirm. Okay? And that you must be on top of your invoices. So again, that's your calendar. That is removing the emotional charge. That is being the keeper of your boundaries. That's some of the support. There are so many situations where I see virtual assistants waver on their boundaries and they regret it. And that's what I want you to avoid. If you end up becoming more relaxed around invoicing, or you more whatever with a particular client because you've been working with each other for ages and you love them and you trust them and they respect you, That's fine. But don't start relationships that way. You need to set firm boundaries. And you might upset people, you might lose people, but the boundaries are to protect both of you. They're to support both of you. Because when the boundaries get murky, that's where confusion comes in. And confusion can lead to frustration and resentment and like, oh, how do I bring back boundaries that I let them break in the first place? And boundaries, they don't make you a bitch. They're just rules that we need to abide by in business. You don't go to a Starbucks and only pay the full amount some of the time. That would not be tolerated, right? It's the tolerance. We need to have zero tolerance. We can be open to conversation, and then we can come to an agreement, but it's like these boundaries, this agreement supports both parties. Okay. Catherine, what are you saying here in the comments? I've started asking all my clients on the kickoff call if they want the email to manually go in and pay or if they want for it to be automatic. Yes, most are all about the ease of automation. It makes it so much easier for both of us. 100%. 100%. Automating payments, some clients might be like, oh, is that weird? Are they going to like go shopping with my credit card or whatever? No, you send them a receipt. You let them know that you've done it. And this goes back to my very, very first point at the very beginning of this masterclass. Paying invoices is not this simple process where you just put in your credit card information. When an invoice comes into a client's inbox, it immediately ignites a conversation in their head about the finances of their business. Can their business still justify investing in a VA? Have they made the sales that they needed to make in order to pay their team? Is this going to pay off in the end? That's what's happening. It's not just like, oh, let me find my wallet and put in these numbers. It's a whole thing. And so, yes, if you can take it off their plate, make their life easier, because that's what virtual assistants do, and automate it, auto-charge it, put them on some kind of subscription, then great. They'll love it. And then you just make sure it sends a receipt. Okay, so I talked about mostly invoicing in this masterclass, and I tried to stick to invoicing because, as you can tell, there's so much to say simply around the boundaries of having an invoice paid. There is a whole nother conversation around your rates as a virtual assistant, okay, or as an online business manager, social media manager, it doesn't matter. If you are providing a service online and you have been doing this for at least 3 months, it is time to raise your rates.